in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Welcome to the Author Your Brand Show, guys. I'm so excited to bring on not just one guest, but my chief editor as well, because we're going to be talking about an upcoming book that is probably one of the most fascinating stories I've ever had the honor of being involved with. So I'm going to bring on first my chief editor, Jen Malone. Jen, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good. Okay. So I'm going to introduce Mohan. If you want to add anything to if you want to add anything to his credentials, you go ahead and chime in here. Our guest today is a gentleman who has 15 patents. And one of those patents is a little thing you might have heard of. It's called GPS. And he is he's worked for every government agency I can imagine, you know, NASA, JPL, DOD, a bunch of other ones that I can't mention. He's a rocket scientist, guys. Okay, he's the smartest man in the world. He invented GPS. And we're here to talk today about something he was involved with. It's a little $5 billion company that also started up back in the late 90s called Stamps.com. And so we're going to take a very deep dive into the history and challenges and successes he had with this amazing startup. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Mohan Ananda. How are you doing today, Mohan?
Thanks, Doug. That was a little bit, I appreciate your kind words, but I think I'm humbled by those statements.
I'm intrigued with the next step here. You get the 6 million, but I want to get to the USPS saying, let's go. That would be the
yes. That happened in another about 6 months. The USPS said, we approve. So that was the celebration for us.
What did you guys do? Well, how'd you celebrate?
I mean, just having a few champagne bottle opened and things like that. Nothing, no. The most important thing he did, same day, this is the time to go and get an additional financing. So we came up with a model and said, okay, we are going to raise $30 million.
Okay.
30. So we hired an investment bank and said, okay, we want 30 million. How can you guys go and put it together? And we still don't have any revenue. No revenue.
Yeah, you don't have the product yet. So yeah.
Now we want to have, real cash. I mean, 6 million is good, but it won't last for a long because we are hiring and all. So we said we'll go and raise 30 million.
Okay.
But within almost 2 weeks, it was oversubscribed. We had 60 million ready, but we said we only will take 30 million.
Okay. So can you back up on this? Because this is like stage 2 now, right? We've raised our 6 million. We got USPS saying, yes, we want to do this.
Yes.
And so can you give me some details exactly on, okay, USPS sends you documents saying we want to work with you. Let's go. And then did your pitch deck change? I got approval on this thing. And then who did you go to for the 30 when they offered 60?
Yeah. I mean, 30 is actually, it's not one person. In fact, the reason we had oversubscription, Paul Allen decided to put the 10 million into our 30 million.
Okay. For those people who don't know Paul Allen, he's
a co-person with Microsoft.
Yes, right. the people who said they're going to go around you years before.
Yes, but he did not know me.
Right.
But Paul Allen saw this is a new technology. This is really good. So they have a fund. Paul Allen has a venture fund, so he put 10 million. And as soon as they knew Paul is putting money in, then there are others not coming.
Yeah.
So we were oversubscribed, but we only took 30, and but we did take Paul's money. 10 million.
Yeah. So on the 30, Mohan, so you got 30 is what you wanted. You got 60 offer, but you took 30 of it from Paul and other people. How long was that money good for? And at what point was it going to go to market in that $30 million stream?
Okay. Those details are a little complicated, but we always, I believe in my personal life as well as business, I like to have money in the bank.
Yeah.
Even though, I am very frugal. in
Mhm.
spending, but
Right.
it's nice to have that money because there are many things in life happens. So you need to have that contingency. So I like to have as much cash as possible, if possible, keep it, and then do your whatever needs to be done. But one thing did happen. Revenue still is not there because revenue is not from the USPS. USPS doesn't pay a damn thing. We have to find a customer who uses our system, and then we have to get revenue from them. So we had a subscription model. People have to, we have if you use our system, that means you can print your own stamps, then, you pay X amount of dollars. So that is the revenue stream. And you have to have that in place. That means you need to acquire customer, and customer acquisition is a expense, in itself. So customer acquisition is the most difficult part for most companies, unless you have a relationship with one big company. So most of the time, the B2B, I mean, I want to distinguish B2B and B2C. The business to business is easier in customer acquisition, even though it may take some time. The B2C is more complicated because as a consumer, you need to advertise, you have to spend a lot of money. But ours is partially B2B, and we were also interested in little B2C because consumers use postage. But then obviously later on, we transformed the whole model into a B2B. B2B meaning we have now, just to speak, about over 1 million customers, and all million customers are businesses. So that's of course, when we started, we didn't have one customer. So it takes some time to acquire the customers. So so we went through very in details how the money has to be spent. Of course, the primary expense is the labor, uh, research and development. There is an ongoing technology development. Then you have obviously to the marketing and customer acquisition. And of course, as we start acquiring customer, then you have the customer support, how to make sure that you may have to handhold them, make sure that they're, enjoying and they're doing the right thing. So those are in a very simplistic, three basic elements, and you need to have sufficient capital. Eventually, the revenue should be more than all these expenses. Then you are in a good shape. But we were not there yet for some time. So that's why we decided to go and get this 30 million. But then what happened was, soon after, there is this dot-com time in 1999. So we decided that we will go public. Our revenue, I mean, we had a trickling down, very, very small amount of revenue, but we decided we will go public and raise another $65 million.
Okay, hold on a second. You decided to go public in 1999.
Correct.
Right before the Y2K stuff is all talking about at that point.
Correct. That's the time we said we'll go public, even though we were not in a typical company. In order to go public, you need to have a certain amount of revenue. But ours is, the way we put ourselves, we are the great technology revolution here. So we need to. So, but in a way, our public market was, I mean, we didn't want a lot of money, so we only wanted like 65, but we got 65 right away. Okay. Then our stock price started climbing. Within 6 months, we went for a secondary offering. We went and raised close to 400 or 450 million. Woo! And at the time, about 500 million in the bank. So that was very, very. But I'm not recommending the new stock.
No. But I want to hear about at what point were you starting to make some revenue, and how did you acquire customers? Those are the two big questions I have. It's like all these during these fundraisings, right, from 6 to 30 to 65 to 400. There's some revenue happening somewhere in there. I want to know when that was And what was your go-to-market plan for acquiring customers?
Yes, I think of course, the way we were starting to acquire customers is primarily from the small businesses who use our, there is a customer list we kind of know to some extent, because we want to transfer or at least change the Pitney Bowes customers. So there is, Pitney Bowes have over 1 million plus customers using the Pitney Bowes machine. They have to lease the machine, and there is a cost associated with that leasing, and they have all the utilities and things like that. So there is a much expensive to own the Pitney Bowes machine.
Right.
We were trying to do is to provide same type of service.
Yes.
Very inexpensive.
I understand, but how did you get the list of how'd you get those customers?
That list is, if you take the small businesses in this country, there are a lot of mailing lists you can get.
Okay.
There are about 40 million or so small, out of which, if you can get some of those lists, a large percentage of them have Pitney Bowes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we know who our customers are. So we know how to reach them, but to change their mind, because there is a tremendous inertia. There is always, people don't like to, when things are working, they just do it. And they don't worry about. And of course, the savings are, for example, we were charging, I don't know, $20 or $19 or something, and they are spending about 100 or 120. So it depends on the priority. They will shift, and we have, obviously shifted quite a bit, but people still use the Pitney Bowes machine. So it's not that we have replaced it, but that is our target customers in that sense. So we started acquiring. It took some time. It's a slow process, but it did start happening. Of course, our revenues start increasing, but we haven't become profitable. The expenses are still more. But there is one thing did happen. I want to identify in a way. During that time, because I was taking a lot of responsibility, I said, I just want to bring some professional people to manage. Meaning, I was being a CEO of the company. I said, I want to step down and bring a professional CEO. See, we brought a professional CEO to run the company, and it's a typical. In fact, the person, his name is John Payne. He's not with us. He was there only for a short time period, but he came on board and he started running, and I sat on the board. And of course, we had much close relationship, and I started providing certain type of things, but all the executive decisions were made by John and the management team. One thing which I still regret, I just want to kind of talk about. We started bringing employees, growing quite rapidly. Meaning, we had once, as we grew, we had close to 800 employees. That was, I think, a mistake in my opinion. But and the revenue was now, so we were spending a lot of money and growing employees. Thinking we'll have all kind of activities, but I think that's a mistake, because you should grow in conjunction with the revenue growth. You need to have a minimum number of employees for sure, but any kind of growth has to be in proportion to the growth in business activities. I think that was an error, mistake. In fact, the board met and we discussed and convinced ourselves. The board said this is not sustainable, because our cash flow, the expenses are really much faster to spend, and the revenue growth is significantly. So we said we should somehow or other reduce our staff. That means we have to go take 800 to probably 250 or 300. That means we have to get rid of 500 people. I mean, that's a painful experience. So that job, somehow or other, the board asked me to talk to John and say that I think we need to do something. And that was I don't want to go into the detail. That is something, it's a learning uh, process for startup companies. You have to be watchful how you grow. Otherwise, you have to do some corrections. But in a way, we did the corrections in the
Yeah.
right way. But it's an experience I learned by our own, in my opinion, a mistake. But I think it may be because of the hope you'll be doing so big, so
Right.
growth. I think it should not be.
So in terms of the mindset on that, Mohan, like, did you have is that like after you raised the 30 or the 65 or the 400? When were you personal heavy? At what point in the money was that happening?
When we had 500 million in the bank.
So you feel very confident. There's a lot of money there. I go ahead and
yes, but that's not the way I would recommend to any company to do. When you have 500 million, you should keep the million in the bank and use it in a very carefully. I mean, you should spend in a proper capital expense, no question. You should spend properly for technology advancement, no question about it. You should spend very much for customer acquisition. That means a very good marketing. So there are areas you should spend, but it should be tied to the projected revenue opportunities in such a way that you can always bring people as you go forward.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like somebody who won the lottery tends to not be very judicious with their money, right? So what kind of timeline are we talking here from the $30 million raise to have $500 million in the bank? Would that happen in 2 years, 10 years? What kind of timeline?
I would say it's about 1.5 years.
Oh my gosh. So therefore, the same people who saw 30 all of a sudden saw 500. They thought they had, wow, we're already successful, when it wasn't really revenue money. It was investor and stock money, right? It wasn't really.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a lesson. I mean, of course, that's we have learned, or I have learned, but that's something I would like to make sure that the new companies should watch out. I mean, it may look like a good thing to have, but you have to be careful. Otherwise, I mean, we were lucky enough, we managed it, and we were tremendously successful, and we have done the right thing, in the next steps.
In the last half hour here, I want to go through as much detail as you can recall on this one thing you mentioned earlier, which was obviously having a great team, having capital, good idea is important. But you also mentioned that going to market, especially when you're changing someone's behavior, is one of the most difficult things to do. So when you first launched out there with the email lists or databases, there's that, what is this new thing, right? There's this early adopter problem that a lot of startups have. So if you could talk about the mindset and some of the strategies you guys do to educate your customers and get them on board, I think that'd be very helpful.
Yes, exactly. That's a very good point. So the concept here, especially in the Pitney Bowes environment, the only way you can use this if you have a Pitney Bowes machine. That means you have to lease it from them. You can't even buy it. So it's a good technique when you have this only one place. I mean, there are few other companies have the franking machines, but Pitney Bowes is the largest, and they have they're the first, obviously. Then but you need to have that machine, and they can obviously monitor, because the machine has all the information. So that's how they keep the security. But what we are doing now, you don't need any machine. You can go anywhere. You can be any office space. Every office space. See, most companies have one Pitney Bowes machine somewhere in some administration or room or something, and everybody has to go there and get it franked And here, what we are telling, you can be in your computer. Everybody has a computer, so anybody can use it. So that message has to be communicated, and that was done. It took some time, and that communication, obviously we started using some of the advertisement, obviously dropping mails, and there are various marketing techniques which available, and we used it very effectively, and the return on the investment have been extremely valuable.
Yes. Can we talk about that in more specifics, though? What year did you start doing this, and what did you do? Did you just do direct mail and email, or phone calls, or what did you do for your outreach?
Okay, the direct mail that is there. Then we have this advertisement so that people can watch. We hired TV personalities and things like
right.
that. So we still have. If you look at, we still do that advertisement, and it's very. We have a way to the expenses we make and the return on that is all profitable, very, very good. And so there are well understood marketing techniques, which are obviously, I'm not good at it. That's not my knowledge, but we have people, those who are well versed, and we get, that's another thing we should learn. You need to have people who are experts part of your team, that you have to bring the right, like technology, you need an expert. Legal, you need experts. You need marketing, you need experts. So they will design the marketing strategy, how to maximize, like social media, for example. And it's how do you get the social media? In fact, if you look at today, this is my understanding, stamps.com is in the almost 100% social media that people recognize the name. I mean, I don't think there is any American citizen doesn't know the stamps.com because that reach, it's almost, we are like, we have reached as much as Coca-Cola or some brand name. So those type of things have to be, you have to make that investment, you have to make that happen. But my input to those areas are very, very limited. We have the right team, and the right team,
Got it. Okay. Not on this interview today, but maybe you could help me out for an article we write or the course that we create, is to get me some of the either people or content you actually used when you did go to market. That'd be really helpful for the people.
Yes, certainly.
We'll talk about that another time. So it wasn't your specialty as cool, because you hired the right people and got the right ad agencies and all that stuff. That's great.
That is correct.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. So let's recap then, and we can cover that part on another call perhaps. But I love your simplicity of the right team being number one, and having obviously a good idea that's going to make a difference, and of course that all important capital raise. And you've done several of those with stamps.com. Where do you see them going in the future? I'm looking at, everyone's email boxes are just filled up now, and even my company is considering doing some direct mail now. So where do you see them going and growing in the future?
Correct. But actually, we have already made the transition or changes. In this process, what we have done, any company should do. Every company does, and we did. We did 5 major acquisitions. Acquisition meaning, there are 2 ways of growth. There is organic growth, then there is growth through acquisition. Organic growth is by acquiring customers, providing new features in the product, and maybe even give new products and things like that. That's every company should do. But then another one which people should look into, related companies. If they are successful, you acquire them. I mean, you can acquire with 2 types: paying money or paying equity, or a combination of both. So that's like you have a currency. Now, so what we have done, Stamps, during the last 20 plus years, we have acquired 5 companies. One is Indicia. That's a similar company in the same market, and they were doing. Now we brought them on stamps.com and put it under one administration, and they had some technology part, but we kind of integrated everything. That's one major acquisition. Another one is ShipStation. ShipStation is a really, really growing company that is growing in the international. In fact, they have now systems in different languages. They have it in French, Italian, Spanish, and they're coming in German or many, many languages so that people can start using the ShipStation. That's a amazingly successful growing company. I mean, of course, owned by Stamps. The other one is Shipping Easy. Shipping Easy is similar to ShipStation, but it has unique certain features, and it does that to depending upon. So, but here you can use Stamps, you can use Indicia, ShipStation, or Shipping Easy. Any there are different features, but that's the. Then the other one is called Shipworks. Shipworks is for a large companies with huge number of in the primarily in the shipping area, using whether it is a postal service or even UPS or FedEx for Amazon. So there is that another company. Then we also recently acquired a English company called Metapack. Metapack is a huge international company which provides various shipping services to various. So the reason is I'm just bringing that into picture. So in the growth phase, is in addition to the organic growth, you also should look at growth based on acquisition. And we, in fact, as we speak, we have over 500 million in the bank, and we of course have tremendous credit line availability. Plus, we have our equity as a currency also. So we always look for good companies. I mean, at the right value, and we if it matches, we would acquire them. Every company should do this, and every company does. So I just want to give you that. That is one growth phase we are looking in the future. And the another interesting observation, we are really into just postage is there, but mostly in the shipping. The e-commerce is the main, like we do, even though we don't show as our direct revenue. Our direct revenue is like around $800 million yearly, which is, may sound not that great, but we have close to 350 million money. I mean, profitable. It's all published. I'm not providing anything, confidential. This is all published information. But we do make money, meaning significant amount of cash flow after all expenses. But our shipping value, that means if we were to do the shipping itself, it would be close to $20 billion of shipping. So it is very, very significant in relation.
That is very interesting. Yeah. So actually, that's the volume you do.
Correct.
Is that level? But yeah, making
that level. And so we still a small percentage of the total international, because we are not just US. We are doing international. Mm-hmm. So nice. We are capturing. So the space we are in is an amazingly growing area, and we can really penetrate, and we are doing it. And as of course, we are also doing to some extent in the cloud area. So there are many opportunities for the growth of the company, and I'm happy to say this all started based on a simple concept one day. But every startup company has to have that kind of a initial beginning, but with some vision over long term, so where you can navigate and take it to its full potential. So this is it's a very narrow area, but significantly useful and valuable area. So I don't know whether I addressed your question clearly, Doug.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing story, amazing journey, and I know that when entrepreneurs and startups look at this, we all think of the unicorn, how it can become the next big thing, right? Um, the last question I have for you before we go is do you, when you first started, right, when you had the patent, when you first had the idea going to USPS with this thing, did you see where they are today back then in the 90s?
I wouldn't say that I did not see, but I did not obviously get the full picture. But I knew one thing I knew at the time: the use of digital technology,
Hmm.
the commerce is changing,
Hmm.
evolving. In fact, that's the whole idea of my patent is the e-commerce. So
Right,
e-commerce is going to, and then we become a participant in the e-commerce.
right.
For example, uh, we can provide like UPS. Look at UPS.
Yeah.
UPS is a huge company.
Right.
The technology which we can provide to them will enhance their operation significantly. And I think they recognize that. And I don't know whether they have, I mean, we have an excellent relationship with UPS going through, but they haven't adopted the full our capability yet, as an example. But I knew in 96 that we are bringing that kind of technology into the e-commerce world. So that was clear to me. But of course, all these things happened today. I didn't see it that specifically. So I don't know whether I answered it clearly, but I had that the general big vision with not the specificity associated with that.
So you saw it was going to be big. You didn't know where it was going to go, but you could see a gray version of this colorful future that we're living in now. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Exactly. But I knew the digital world is growing with no doubt in my mind. I mean, that's without even internet being that clear, because I said
Yes.
this bandwidth is going to grow like amazingly.
Right. And to wrap up our call today, by the way, we're going to have another one of these, maybe two or three of these. But to wrap up the call, I'm going to bring our chief editor, Jen Malone, back on, because Jen has been integral and our most important project with you, Mohan, is to get the stories out, not just stamps.com, but the future of the world, right? And your book's coming out, Autobiography of an Immigrant, should be out in sometime in 2021 here. It's taken us a while. It's been taking us a while to craft it because, oh my gosh, you've got, basically, folks, just so you know, and Jen can attest to this, we've got a real life version of Forrest Gump on the call today, right? I mean, you've rubbed shoulders with, well, we have Paul Allen, we've got the prime minister of India, we've got Bobby Kennedy. There's so many people you've run across in your life. It's an amazing story, amazing journey.
Superstar of India. At least two leaders of India, right? The top leaders.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Stephen
so
Hawking, just
and Stephen Hawking, the Stephen Hawking lecture. Oh my gosh. So I can't wait to read the book again because I was involved with the interviews, but Jen has been busy editing it, and we're at the tail end of that. So
doing such a beautiful job.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. No, it's really, I mean, I mean it. This is not.
I was worried. I did a lot of organization, and I was like, let's see if my proposal will be approved.
It's going to be good, and we're going to have another interview when that book launches to talk about your book specifically. This is about stamps today, but probably the next month or so, whenever we'll do the book tour, and that'll be a lot of fun to do. So thank you so much for being on today, Mohan, and Jen. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful partner in all this thing. It's been a pleasure working with you on this book. So thank you.
Thanks, thanks, Jen.
Okay.
And Jen and I work very closely, so of course we talk quite often.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. I learn a lot from her, so it's fantastic. No, I mean
I enjoy the same for you.
Yes.
I mean, we discuss more than the book. We discuss life and the many aspects of it. So that's very, very
outstanding. Thank you so much, Mohan. We'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thank you so much. Doug Crow with the Author Your Brand Show.
Okay, bye.
Bye.